Welcome back to the solo training series from the Academy of Self-Defense. I'm Sensei Leventis. In this video, we're going to continue on with our classical technique in pantomiming, and we're going to be doing the unbendable arm. The unbendable arm is an interesting technique. It's the first technique that a new student gets that the minute they see it and try it, especially after they see the instructor demo it, they're starting to think like, wait a minute, I don't know about this technique. I'm not sure if it's going to work. There's a lot of cooperation happening. There's a lot of just stuff that people don't understand in the very beginning, because it's a technique, especially from the uke, has to have a lot of cooperation. And I will stop a minute and say, look, in the beginning, there has to be cooperation to learn. Imagine if you're trying to learn anything, and where it involves two people, the protagonist and the antagonist. And the antagonist is always being the antagonist. I hope that's a good analogy, where they're not allowing you to learn. So I can stifle any technique, doesn't matter. If I want to stop a classical technique from happening, I can do it very easily. Now, if someone's trying to do that to me, I know enough by now to stifle their stifle and continue on and progress into another technique. And that's a whole other conversation. But the minute I'm taking a minute to talk about this is because as the uke on this, there has to be cooperation to allow the nagi to learn. And that being said, ukeme is often misunderstood, especially those outside of the aiki realm. Remember, the way I've always seen ukeme is, as an uke, I'm actively learning the technique on the other side. I'm learning it from reverse, if that makes any sense. You should not, and my instructor, Mr. Weber, said this, and always said this, and they're always stuck with me. There's some things that people say to you that stick with you throughout your whole career in something. And this is one, is as the uke, it's not your time off. You're not waiting for your turn to do it again, if that makes any sense. If you're doing that as an uke, stop. Because you're losing the opportunity to learn. You're giving up 50% of your time. I don't know about you, but if I give up 50% of my time every time I do something, I will learn nothing. I won't get better at anything. So as the uke, remember, from now on, once you've heard this, make it stick, that you are now learning something from the other side, from reverse. You're actively learning something, you're actively participating in learning that particular technique and the nuances. You're just learning it from a different perspective, okay? So, I'll demonstrate the unbendable arm first, from a couple angles, and then we'll talk about all the variables and the nuances. Okay. Okay, so you saw throughout that technique, the arm that's affecting the throw doesn't bend. It's straight, there's energy into it, we call it ki energy, and that's why it's called the unbendable arm, all right? So, if you're doing this, and as you're going to do the throw, you collapse the arm at any point, you lose the energy of the technique, okay? So, let's break it down. You notice I was turning the other direction, because this is one of the first ones also where you're throwing from a different direction. Okay? So, it is a same side grip. So if I'm being gripped on my right, the uke is gripping me with their left. First step, super important. I step alongside the uke's toes, not past the toes, or the knuckles of the toes, the base of the toes, and I'm on the ball of my foot. Super, super important. Okay? If I'm not on the ball of my foot, I cannot do that 180 graceful turn while I'm staying low. That's so important with this, okay? So mistake number one, we step flat-footed. So when we try to turn, the foot sticks. We don't want that. We want to be on the ball of our foot. So when I turn, it's 180 right away on that ball of the foot. Then I plant my foot down, okay? In conjunction with that step, I have to lead the uke down so their kuzushi is this way. And this is where I was talking about uke cooperation. They have to stick with you. If I bring the uke down this way, they must follow me down that way. Okay? So that's number one point of cooperation for the uke. So as I step, I lead straight down, ball of my foot alongside the toes of the uke, very close. When I make that 180 turn, what's happening here, imagine if you will, this is pointing back to where my obi knot would have been had I not stepped. So when I step, there's my obi knot. And it points that way and it's drawing a circle. So as I draw that circle, as this steps around, I draw the circle up in front of the uke's face and across. And this is mistake number two. If I am not across the head, then I can't get the uke to do this and break down their stance. This is where I break their center. Okay? This is the second part of Kuzushi. The first is where I drop them down. The second is where I get the head up. And this again is where the uke has to cooperate because, well, number one, at this point, if they don't, then they get an arm in the face. So they quickly learn to cooperate on this one. Okay? So again, here, step, nice graceful 180 turn, staying low. This goes towards the direction of where you were before you turned, towards the obi knot, around and across. From this position, no, actually at this position, you should be hip to hip. You should be touching. If you're not touching, if you're too far away, in the uke's here, then you're reaching and you're getting that disconnect I was talking about before with all the other techniques. You have to keep them as close to your center line as possible. Okay? So again, if I'm here, think about cutting from a cross clavicle position. So I'm cutting across the clavicle through the neck. If this is a sword, I'm decapitating and cutting the body diagonally to the opposite hip. Right? So as I step, I keep dropping my weight. This foot steps back into a hamni as this cuts across. And I'm pointing to the uke where they fell. Now, a lot of times, especially with height disparities, you have to take a little bit of a shuffle back to create more distance. So now the uke is there. The tip of my arm or my sword should be pointing now kind of at their head. And if you find yourself not doing that, and you're far away, and the uke is over there, I see students trying to point to them. Well, again, you've lost the connection to that technique because as I was stepping back, instead of bringing everything to my center line, because I stepped away, now everything I'm reaching, and now look, there's a disconnect there. And I don't have control of the uke's body as I'm breaking him down. Okay, if I'm the uke and the arms are crossed this way, I should feel a definite energy down and then back. If I don't feel that, there's no reason for me to fall. Of course, as the uke, I'm cooperating. We said that already, right? But in a real situation, if I'm not in it and dropping on that unbendable arm, dropping their weight down and breaking their weight down before I bring them back, then I don't have an effective throw. Okay? So let's look at it from this perspective. I'll do this arm. So I step, ball of my foot, drop the weight. As I pivot, arm goes up and across, palm up, unbendable. I don't want a samurai sword that bends, correct? So from here, as I step, by the way, this other hand does nothing the whole time. You don't pose it, you don't show it, you don't do anything, it just stays at your hip. As I step back, really slow, watch. Here, and then I shuffle back enough to allow myself room so the uke doesn't fall on my knee or my foot. Okay? Now, I always get students ask me, when they step back, can they step hamni, hamni, hamni? My short answer is no, because it's very clumsy. You have to get out of the way quick, so that's why we need that shuffle step, okay? If I'm here, when I step back, watch, it's just shuffling back. And I'm always ending up, by the way, at the end, hamni, open side to the uke, my sword pointing to the head of the uke, this should be right there. And I always give people visuals. I'm a very visual person. And every sword, if I were to cut through a body, and I'm getting a little gross here, but you need that visual. The blood pouring down should be pouring down the tip of the sword onto them. That's kind of the energy I have at the end. Okay? So, let's look at it again from this perspective. So that, in a nutshell, is the unbendable arm. So what I'm going to do now, just quickly, is try to give you the perspective from the uke and things to look for as you're the uke in this technique. Remember, I talked about that in the beginning. So it's important to kind of see what your thought process should be as you're on the other end of this technique. Okay? So if I'm the uke in this particular case, I'm grabbing with, I'll grab with my left hand, okay? So you can see this side better. And I'm grabbing the uke's, remember this is a same side grip, so I'm grabbing the uke's right hand with my left hand. So as they're stepping forward, remember that first step, they're breaking my balance because she's going down, so I'm following technique down as much as they lead me, by the way. And this is important. I don't want to overemphasize a movement. I am just a puppet at this point, and they're taking me wherever they want me to go. So if they only lead me this much, I'm only going that much. That way they have an accurate barometer of what they're doing right or wrong, okay? If they lead me a little bit and I'm doing this, I'm exaggerating, I'm not helping my partner. And I'm also not helping myself understand the technique, okay? So I'm here, they lead me correctly, I'm here. At this point, nothing's happening, right? They're alongside of me, they're starting to step around, hands coming up. Now I go up. Again, I only go up as far as their hand is. I'm looking at their hand. And if their hand, by the way, is over here, then I'm looking over there. I'm giving them that accurate feedback so they know that they shouldn't be there, they should be there, so my head is back. Now at this point, I'm watching their hand the whole time, okay? If I get hit in the head as they're moving back, then that's my fault. I'm learning that I didn't react correctly. Because remember, the break is from here to back, and I should be breaking down. Remember, from here, the pressure, the energy of the technique is down first and then back. So as they finish the technique, I'm getting ready to fall with my right hand. They're dropping down. There's my fall. Okay? I should be falling straight down pretty much. I don't want to throw myself at them. At this point, they've slid back, they've shuffled back, the tip of their sword, their hand is pointing at my head, and this is where I'm at. And they should be in the hamni, left foot forward, right foot back, with their right arm extended at me. Okay? I hope that helps, looking at it from the ukemi perspective. Again, it's very important. And you can even pantomime those ukemi parts if you want. Okay? So that's the Unbendable Arm. Thank you for watching. I'm Sensei Chris Leventis from the Academy of Self-Defense in Newport Richey, Florida.